it is a TV show. I mean, I think we said that last week, and then the next crazy thing happens, and it escalates the cliffhanger or something.
Yeah.
But I mean, just as a starting point, what was interesting about this week's turn of events is that. I mean, we'll have to see how it plays out, but it was like the first time that the special counsel over there really did a move.
Yeah.
He's put something on the record that is quite potentially damning to Donald Trump. Doesn't necessarily mean that there's a smoking gun still. It's looking really bad, obviously. But what I maybe just as a starting point, we were talking last week about the fact that there was a acting attorney general put in that's many of the kind of said that he's a stooge for Trump. He obviously didn't stop this from getting out there, and the question is the special counsel tactic here to try and get as much onto the public record as possible before maybe he's sort of stymied from doing anything further, because now with something like this out there, like it's harder for. I mean, Trump's very good at obfuscating and turning everything around, but the fact is it's out there now. It's not something that's conjecture, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, it's out there, you're right. But remember, at the same time, there's a lot of other stuff out there, and a lot of it is fake. It's getting harder and harder now to actually find out what the truth is. So I think both sides are playing basically a chess game here, where you've got the special counsel trying to get stuff on the record to build a bit of a beachhead. And by the same token, the Trump camp knows they can take a certain number of hits and, like they don't get bruised. So they're going to let some of this out, I think, and then either create a distraction or just wait for a technical weakness, and then they'll weigh in as well.
Yeah.
And then we'll see it'll have to go to another level again.
Exactly. One thing that I just wanted to draw out here is that what was essentially sort of put out there is that there was a scenario where Trump's people were ostensibly liaising with the Kremlin itself in order to try and get this Trump Tower project up and running in Moscow, and this was happening well into the campaign for the presidency in 2016. So the guy that pled guilty this week, Michael Cohen, basically said that he was lying when he said that it had finished. All the talks of this project had finished earlier than what it did. Now, set aside the legal argument, I think what is causing so much angst is that in the past, anyone who had done this, who had been running for president or for any office really, would have been done for basically the optics and the ethics of it, as opposed to it being illegal. Now, obviously, that doesn't matter with Trump because he doesn't care, and he'll just let it roll off him. But whether it plays out as being illegal is one thing, and it may very well still go down that path. But isn't that
there are all sorts of legal and business defences that he will have rolled into this? So every Trump initiative is a separate concern. It could have been handled by one of his family members or one of his staff, and he can just say he had no knowledge of it.
But isn't that the bigger issue almost, that this is like supposed to be a quintessential component of American democracy, that they're all transparent, they're all trying to do everything ethically and above the book for the public good, but this is sort of against that because
But we know that if you look into probably any big business in the US, or probably anywhere else in the world for that matter, their take on what's right or good proprietary, it can be sometimes very different to what the regulations state. I mean, we only have to look at what's happened in Australia with the banking system, Royal Commission. If you lift the lid on anything, I think you're going to find dirt.
But I guess there's that's one thing, and another thing that I've seen discussed. I saw a video where if Trump hadn't won, what parallel universe would have happened there? That essentially that all of this would have just stayed in the. No one would know about it because it would never come out. It would just be because no one would have any interest in it, and the only reason it's coming to light is because he's in public office. And the expectation is that there's a certain level of standard, I guess, that because there's that conflict of interest thing, where it's essentially how can he be going off doing this, trying to get a business deal with an adversarial government while still being able to discharge the duties of the office, kind of thing. And it seems like they're struggling with that at the moment. And obviously with someone like Trump there who doesn't care, and he's just going to go out, yeah, of course, no problems. He'll say on the one, he'll pivot from never did anything like that, don't have any connections, and then when it comes out that he did it, yeah, of course I did, and even if it wasn't the case, it'd be perfectly fine for me to do this. So when you've got someone like that in there, how can you argue against it, really?
Well, that's right. That's right. And you do wonder, though, to me, Trump looks reasonably safe, or as safe as he can look. I don't know. He's always looked like he could topple at any moment, but he's still there. And you wonder how much this is driven, perhaps as sort of payback, and I don't think by the Clintons, but the people that, took offence to the way the Clintons were pursued are now, getting one back on a guy they don't like, and they're pursuing him now in the same sort of way. And, it goes to show that at the top levels of politics, although Trump isn't really accused of any political corruption, I don't think. Well, maybe slightly, but,
yeah,
it's more business dealings, I think, that they're looking for that are improper and may have a relation to the political position he now holds, whereas the Clintons, running a large political organisation effectively, and, you lift the lid on them if you want to go after them, and you can find something to put into the media. And that's really what we're seeing when we talk about this being like a reality TV show, is because, both camps are putting these stories into the media. They're not actually testing them properly in a court of law.
Yeah.
No one's actually really taking action. They're actually just taking pot shots at each other in the media, and then all it takes is someone to misstep or misspeak, and then it's all on in the courts. So we'll wait and see what happens.
I guess before we move on to our next topic, I think the final thing to kind of say here is that it's quite obvious that Trump never intended to win, that he was using the whole thing as a excuse to basically get as much publicity as possible, which is kind of like a way to, basically generate as much money and light on his businesses, so that when he got out, he could probably, parlay all of that to improve his business empire. And winning was unexpected, and not that he hasn't since continued down that path. It's just that
everything that's happened since has been unexpected. So he's certainly delivered.
But if I just wonder if he did intend to win, would he have been a bit smarter maybe about how he went about half of this stuff, so that it wouldn't come back to bite him so quickly, I guess, after the fact?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think he could have ever changed anything he'd done in the past. I think he's covered his tracks well, otherwise he'd already been gone. So yeah, I don't know. I guess that's one of those things that it's interesting to think about, the parallel universe.